Hi, I'm Aoibheann from the WIMPS crew and we're here at Castle Buildings today to interview the Justice Minister David Ford. Hello, I'm Aoibheann.
Hi Aoibheann, good to see you.
What would you like to be addressed as?
Most people call me David, most people used to call me David, so that's fine by me.
Okay. In April of this year, you became Justice Minister for Northern Ireland. As it's a new department, can you explain what the department's functions are?
Well, in simple terms, the department looks after everything to do with the justice system for Northern Ireland. So we're directly responsible for things like running the prisons. We have a close relationship with the police, probation, youth justice agency. We directly run the court service, and there's about 20 other agencies that we relate to.
Dissident attacks have become an ever-growing threat in Northern Ireland. Last month, a £300 bomb was found outside a police station in County Tyrone. What measures can the Department of Justice take to assess the dissident threat?
Well, the key issue is to support the police service and the work that they're doing. For example, the Chief Constable requested additional funding to deal with some of the distant threats. We've been able, working with the Department of Finance, to get additional money from the Treasury for that. It's also important, I think, that when people see a local Justice Minister responsible to the Assembly and not a minister coming from England, that they recognise that this is a real partnership locally here. And it's important that as the police seek to get themselves involved with the community, that the community responds by assisting the police in all that they can do.
The recently published Savile inquiry cost nearly £200 million and took nearly 12 years to complete. Do you think that the people of Northern Ireland got value for money?
Well, I think the issue is how are we going to ensure that we build a new future, a shared future for all of our people, recognising the suffering of the past as we seek to build different services for the future. The issue of why Savile was set up and how much it cost is a matter for the former Prime Minister Tony Blair and from the lawyers and the fees they charged. But certainly from my contact with the majority of the families of those who died on Bloody Sunday, they feel that they have now got justice in that a British state inquiry has exonerated those who were innocent in the way that the Widgery inquiry, which happened just a few months after the event, suggested that they were guilty. And I think that's been a really huge factor in helping a healing process for the families in particular and for the people of Derry in general. And I think in that sense it has achieved its purpose.
Marching season last year cost nearly £3 million to police. The PSNI this year have called for politicians to do more to diffuse tensions. What can be done to address and finally eliminate this type of annual disruption to the normal life?
Well, I think the Chief Constable got it right when he called for politicians to do what they can. I've met representatives, for example, in the North Belfast area, of the Parades Forum, the Orange Order generally, of some Ardoyne residents who are concerned about the impact of the parade which passes their house on the 12th of July. The reality is that the vast majority of parades are not contentious and that there are fewer and fewer of them which are problems, and yet there's an intensity of concern about a small number of parades. I think there really is an issue for every politician and every public leader to do what they can to diffuse the tensions. In the way we've seen progress in some areas, we still have a few other areas to seek that progress as well. And of course the First Minister and Deputy First Minister are proposing new legislation which will put the emphasis on local negotiation to resolve difficulties, and that's something we would expect to see in place for next year.
Recently the Department of Education cut funding to community relation groups by 70%. Do you think that the reduction in cross-community work will exaggerate violence in Northern Ireland?
Well, I'm not sure whether it will exaggerate violence, but it certainly won't do anything to help build a shared future that I want to see. Because all my life as leader of the Alliance Party, as a member of the Alliance Party, never mind as minister, I've sought to put emphasis on overcoming divisions and building the sort of shared society which is really the long-term protection for everyone. I think when you talk about the cut of 70%, in terms of the funding that would actually end up with individual schools, the cut has been 100%. And recently I supported a demonstration by some of those affected outside Parliament buildings because I believed that they were absolutely right in what they were saying. The relative amount of money spent on good relations in schools is small, but its effects are quite significant, and I really think it's very unfortunate that the Minister chose to cut it completely.
In recent months there have been serious concerns raised over the conditions within Northern Ireland's prisons. Information last week announced that over £1 million has been paid to suspended prison staff. What are your plans for the reform of the prison service?
Well, as part of the Hillsborough Agreement, which enabled the devolution of justice, on my own initiative I ensured that the proposed review of the operation of prisons was set up at a very early stage. I was able to announce that in the Assembly a week or so ago, and we will be seeing a report coming through by the autumn time from what's a very high-powered committee with 5 people with different interests coming from different backgrounds. We have seen different reviews of the prison service. What I want this one to do is to draw together the evidence of what has happened previously, to look at matters on their own account, and to see that we find a way through some of the difficulties. We have the problem, we have a prison estate which is out of date. We have many prison staff who are recruited to do a particular job of effectively guarding the borders of paramilitary prisons, and they are now seeking to do a different job in terms of rehabilitating prisoners. That's not an easy task for them to do, and some of them in particular have been threatened by some organisations outside. So we need to support the staff in what they're doing as we seek to ensure that prisons start to fill the purpose they have for the 21st century, which is all about rehabilitation and preventing reoffending, not just locking up paramilitary prisoners.
The issue of community policing is a serious subject in Northern Ireland. What is your understanding of the ethos of community policing, and how do you intend to apply it?
Well, it's actually up to the Chief Constable to apply it rather than to me, but I fully support what he's doing. He uses the phrase policing with the community, and I think that says it all in 3 simple words. It's not a matter of a police service which descends on an area in a different kind of way. It's a matter of policemen and policewomen, I need to be careful, who are engaged closely with the local community, who have long enough time in a particular area to get to know the area, to get to know the people of the area, to get to understand the problems, and to deal with those issues in a way which gets full engagement with local people, rather than the idea that they run in, attempt to do something, and then disappear away again. I've been very impressed by what I've seen of that. I've talked to people who operate neighbourhood policing teams in what would be seen as some quite difficult areas in South Armagh, South Fermanagh, for example. I also have seen in my own constituency in South Antrim some excellent work done. For example, I can think of last summer women and problems in a particular area with a group of teenagers engaging in basic antisocial behaviour. The principal person who helped deal with it was a young female constable not long out of training college, because she was prepared to go out and engage with the kids, see what the issues were, and relate to them as human beings, not just assume that people would turn up, built out of a Land Rover, and seek to disperse a crowd without actually addressing the issues that were there in the long term. I think it's a perfect example of how the police service is working with the community, and it's something I want to encourage as best I can.
2010 has been a big year for the Alliance Party, with Naomi Long's victory in East Belfast. How do you feel about the party winning its first seat in Westminster?
I think it's made an amazing change for us. I remember knocking a door in East Belfast before the election, and the lady who greeted me said something on the line of, you people, maybe you say the right things, but you can't get anywhere. And I said, well, actually, Naomi's the Lord Mayor of Belfast and I'm the Minister of Justice. What more do you want? Well, we got the answer a couple of weeks later, and Naomi was an MP as well. I think there were a lot of people who said we couldn't win. Well, actually, Naomi did win. She got the biggest swing to any candidate in any of the 650 constituencies in the UK. I think that's first of all a tribute to her and the work that she's done as councillor and MLA for the people of East Belfast. I think it's also a statement that Alliance, particularly with me being Minister, is seen as having a relevant view, that people are recognising what we've talked about for a long time, the need to build a united community, to go forward in a shared society and not just simply manage the divisions that exist, is the only way in which we're going to make progress. Last year I heard Mayor Bloomberg of New York say you couldn't be a successful economy if you're a divided society. I think he's absolutely right. I think the melting pot of the US has shown us that, and I think we need to work in the same way with both people who've lived here for generations and those who most recently arrived from Europe or further afield. We now have the opportunity to make a real difference, to build that shared future, and that's what I'm keen that Alliance will work for and the Department of Justice will work for.
Well, thank you for meeting with us today.
Thank you, and thanks very much to the whole WIMPS team.